Good afternoon. Welcome to another studio sessions. I'm very excited today to be welcoming Malcolm Sanders. Malcolm Sanders is the Creative Arts Facilitator for the Central Highlands area of Regional Arts Victoria, and very excited to welcome you on today, Malcolm, to talk about the relief and recovery funding.
Thank you very much.
Sharing some information about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to spend too much time with the introduction. I'm going to let you get straight into it, except just to acknowledge, obviously, the traditional owners of the lands that we are meeting on virtually today. For myself, that's the Dja Dja Wurrung people. Pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. What about yourself, Malcolm? Whose land?
I am coming to you from Skipton, which is on Mount Emu Creek, which is the border, one of the traditional borders between Wadawurrung and Dja Wurrung land country. So I'd like to pay my respect to those elders, past, present, and emerging.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Malcolm. Look, I'm not going to spend too much time. I know that we've already got people on watching. We do encourage people who are watching via Facebook Live, thank you for joining us, to ask questions. The way that this session will be structured is that we will probably go with the questions towards the end of the sessions, although we may ask some, if they're pertinent to what's being discussed at the time, we may be able to ask those at the time. But if you are asking a question, please stick around to the end and we'll try and answer them. I'll try and answer them then. But apart from that, I think I'll hand straight over to you, Malcolm.
Thanks so much. I'll just get my little presentation up and running, and then we will start. So there we go. So thanks everyone for coming today to join me in this presentation about potential funding opportunities for you as regional practitioners. As David said, my name is Malcolm Sanders, and I'm the Creative Arts Facilitator for Ballarat and the Central Highlands, which includes a region that stretches from Bendigo to Geelong, and from Ararat to the border of metropolitan Melbourne, basically. So a very large part of the country, and a large part of the country that is extremely rich in arts, creativity, creative practice, and extraordinary people who are living and working on this country and making great works of art. So I'm based out of Ballarat, but as I said, I'm the connection for Regional Arts Victoria, and one of 4 regional staff who live and work in regional Victoria amongst community, assisting with building the capacity of our regional artists to work effectively as professional artists, but also to work with communities, community groups, and not-for-profit organisations in developing creative practice or creative projects in their community. So I always like to begin with this slide because I think that it's something that is extraordinarily recognisable and really speaks to the power of creativity in a regional setting as a means of both elevating an art form and also providing opportunities for regional artists and the building of the economy of a small community. This, as I'm sure you all are more than familiar with, is the silos at Brim in the Mallee, and it was from this project that the exciting silo art trail and the desire for every regional community town to have a painted silo has stemmed. The initial part of this practice was from a regional arts fund quick response grant that was obtained by the community in Brim to work with an artist from Juddy Roller, a Melbourne-based street art company to come and work within the community of Brim and develop a work of art that would be painted on the silos. So there you see that that work that was the result of that initial funding, and from that, then they were able to secure funding from various sources to put that work on the silo. It's a really exciting example of how a small investment can really develop something that is of the moment within a moment, and that captures the imagination of communities all around the state and all around the country. So Regional Arts Victoria, who are we? What do we do? We're an organisation that, although it sounds like we are an arm of government, we are in fact not. We are a members organisation that is representative of regional artists and communities. And so as a membership-based organisation, we have a number of subscription options for our members, and a number of opportunities for members to access. For instance, affordable public liability insurance is one of the things that many of our members access through us for their liability policy, and the ability to run functions, community functions, with coverage that is both affordable and accessible to them. But we don't just do that. We have a number of different departments within the organisation that look at different things related to community engagement and appreciation of the arts within a regional context. We are also an advocacy organisation, and we work in close collaboration with government, both federal and state, and various other peak organisations for the arts across Australia, in advocating for the needs and to provide a voice for our regional artists and community groups. So there's a lot to unpack within that, but very broadly speaking, we have, as I said, a membership opportunity. You can apply as an individual or as a group, and as I said previously, one of the benefits of that is access to our public liability insurance, but we also have a broad number of other opportunities within that. A members only part of the website, which provides details, supports various information sheets around issues such as copyright, establishing a not-for-profit organisation, and also connection into other community-based organisations where you might be able to get resources such as Arts Law Australia, ourcommunity.com, Justice Connect, and I am thinking Arts Hub is one of the other ones. So connections into a lot of organisations with opportunities there. One of the key things that we do is we tour throughout both regional Victoria and throughout Australia, in fact, with a lot of work. So if you go to your local performing arts centre, odds are that the show that you're seeing on the stage, that is when we can go into a theatre and see things on a stage, has come through the touring arm of Regional Arts Victoria. We also have a special program called Connecting Places, which is especially for our small halls and our smaller performing arts centres that are dotted around Victoria. And what we have is a selection of specific works that are made for that smaller environment, that have a more affordable price for a smaller community group that have low technical requirements, and will give you a really extraordinary experience that you could tour into your hall. That Connecting Places program also is working on building the capacity of our volunteer groups to be able to host these performances in their halls. And we have this ever increasingly growing and vibrant network of halls around Victoria that are now starting to host these performances in their community and give their community access to really exciting works. If you are interested in that, you can check out the Connecting Places part of our website and speak to Anna Kennedy, who's the manager of that. And if you have a hall in your community that you would love to see activated with works, and by that I don't just mean theatre, I also mean music, stand-up comedy, dance, that we also have programs especially for children and young audiences. So it's a wide variety of works that we tour around the region. Also, if your school or the school that your child goes to, or when you went to school, you had an experience of seeing a company come into your school and perform for them, then that was toured by Regional Arts Victoria. So our very large Education and Families program is an established and long-running part of the organisation. Works are selected every year to tour into schools, and teachers buy that work into their school, and we have at any term at least 5 or 6 companies touring around the state, visiting schools and bringing their works to young audiences, giving them experiences in the arts that they may not normally otherwise have. As we know, in many of our regional schools, arts education can often be something that is not offered to our young people. So this is a real opportunity for those young people to be able to experience the arts. The Regional Arts Fund is one of the key things that we administer, and I just see that that Linda Nichols was in today viewing the session, so she'll be probably surprised and excited to see this project here listed as an example of the Regional Arts Fund sorts of projects that we fund. So the Regional Arts Fund is money that we administer on behalf of the federal government, and it's money that is on offer to artists communities to undertake work that engages artists in regional communities to work in partnership with those community groups to create a new work, be it something visual, could be performance, it could be various number of things. So the key parts of the fund are that our artists paid reasonable rates to be able to make work in regional Victoria, and through this funding they are able to do that. It gives our regional audiences access and experience in creative experiences that are the equivalent of that somebody would experience in a metropolitan area, and it's a way of us as regional people to be able to tell our particular stories. Now, the Regional Arts Fund has 2 major rounds every year, usually, and I'll qualify that a little bit later when I talk about the current funding that is on offer to you at the moment. But normally we have 2 major funding rounds each year. At the moment, up to $30,000 is available for projects in this fund that show real connection into community and real opportunity to develop new and exciting work. This work that you can see here right now is called Facing Up by Linda Nichols, who is a Ballarat artist, who explored the notion of the Prime Minister's bust avenue in the Botanic Gardens in Ballarat, using those buses and researching what each of those prime ministers in our history since Federation have said about Indigenous issues in Hansard and on record in Parliament. Using those speeches in collaboration with the local Indigenous community and with Federation University, she developed a performance that made a profound comment about the way that we have politically treated our Indigenous people over the course of the last 120 odd years of federal government. It was extraordinarily powerful, and we hope to see it come back again very soon. The second project that I wanted to offer by way of example in here is this particular project called Lola, or Linton on Literary Arts. And this was a project that the whole town of Linton in central Victoria gathered together to do as a means of telling their own history, of exploring the stories of their community, and creating a weekend-long festival that allowed them to celebrate and tell those stories. Here, local storyteller Annie Stewart, who's pictured there on the right, was the collaborator and the host with the community, who developed a great variety of projects throughout the course of the weekend. There were a number of interviews that took place in a local cafe that you can see here. She's interviewing Jessie and Dean from Cake Industries here, two local visual artists who make this quite amazing mechanical work that they tour around the state and exhibit in galleries. So she was interviewing them as residents, but she interviewed the town's oldest resident and the town's youngest resident. You can see in the background there a series of photographic images of some of the local residents by a local photographer. The local play reading group wrote and performed a play about a particular incident in the history of Linton that was performed in the local CFA shed with the entire community in attendance. So it was an exciting mix of various art forms and various ways of being able to tell and celebrate the stories of that particular community. So the Regional Arts Fund is one funding stream that we offer, and we also have on offer throughout the year usually something called the Regional Arts Fund Quick Response Grants, and these are smaller amounts of money, usually $2,000 for individuals and $4,000 for communities, to be able to undertake a small quick project that doesn't require a huge amount of resources, but is kind of sitting outside of other funding opportunities, and just an opportunity that you want to create for your community with a small budget. It can also be used for professional development for artists and community groups. So if there was a particular conference that you wanted to attend, a mentor that you wanted to work with, some travel that you wanted to do to attend conferences, then this fund would resource that for you. The picture that you see here is of a small mechanical festival that was created by the two gentlemen that were in the previous photo, Jessie and Dean from Cake Industries. And they used a quick response grant to have a go at creating a model for a small festival of mechanical art. And what you can see here is one of those old style tarot reading machines that you would see in places like Luna Park in the earlier part of the last century, but this in fact has inside its box a live performer, and there was a one-on-one performer audience relationship using this kind of mechanical format, which was both entrancing and pretty spooky. So that money was used to create that festival and to see if a model could be made of a mechanical arts festival into the future. All right, so that kind of gives you a sense of some of the things that that we fund normally through the quick response grants and the Regional Arts Fund's community grants normally. But at the moment, we have a special set of funding categories that are open to you. Now, those two categories are in response to the fact that COVID-19 has had an enormous impact on our creative communities and our community groups all across regional Victoria. The impact of that has been marked. Artists are finding it difficult to sustain the living that they normally were able to do when during normal times, during non-COVID times. Galleries are unable to be open. Performance venues can no longer host touring work. So there is a huge number of people who are hurting in our community, and the federal government has injected $13 million into the Regional Arts Fund so that we can create two new specific funding categories for COVID-19 related projects. And this is loosely under the umbrella of the RAF Recovery Boost. Now, there are three categories within that, and two are currently open right now. So the first one is called RAF Relief, or Regional Arts Fund Relief, and up to $5,000 is available to you right now. Now, this is like a quick response grant in that there is a rolling assessment process for this. So you will find out whether you've been successful for this grant within 15 working days of your submission date, and you'll be able to start work on your project 30 days after your submission date or your application submission date. So it's a fairly quick turnaround here for you to be able to undertake projects that have an immediate impact. Now, that could be about creating work for yourself as an artist. It could be for asset replacement. It could be support for your practice. It could be for something like professional development or research and development that enable you to develop a new skill, create a new string in your bow that enables you to be more flexible and agile both now during this time in your capacity to earn an income, but also out the other end, whenever that might be, when things start to open up again and opportunities open up to earn an income. So, you know, there are a wide variety of things that you can apply for within this. This part of the program opened on the 1st of July and it will close on the 30th of September. So it is a relatively limited window of opportunity there. And you'd need to complete your project by the 30th of June next year. All right, so that's one opportunity for you there that is of a more immediate benefit and for projects that would happen, you know, within the next sort of 30 days to 2 or 3 months. The second opportunity is called the Regional Arts Fund Recovery, or RAF Recovery, and up to $30,000 is available for here. So these are for more medium-term recovery needs of artists and community groups. In that you won't be able to start these sort of projects until the 1st of January 2021. So that these projects are about bringing your community back together, finding ways to create and tell the stories of what has happened throughout 2020 that will allow you or your organisation to develop a plan of recovery post-COVID-19, or to look at emergency plans or risk plans for the future for your organisation. So again, quite a number of opportunities there within that $30,000. So up to $5,000 of that $30,000 opportunity could be spent on asset purchase or replacement. So that is something that's quite new in the Regional Arts Fund and quite an exciting thing for some people. This particular part of the funding only has one round and one closing date, which is the 1st of November of this year. So there's a little bit more time to put that application together, and that is a sign that you need to think about what your community partnerships might be, the development of a really clear plan for this project. You'll find out the results of this funding grant by just before Christmas, and then you start work on that in 2021, in January 2021. So those are the two opportunities. The normal Regional Arts Fund is currently on hold while we administer these recovery grants. So it's important that within these two grant rounds, you talk about the impact on you or your community group or your organisation of COVID-19, how it has hampered or restricted your ability to practice, earn an income, and then from that, what you plan to do to work yourself through this and out the other end. And then when these two grant rounds are done, the Regional Arts Fund will resume as normal with its funding rounds. The final category in this fund is a renewal. At the moment, we don't have much detail about this, and this won't open up until next year. But these are larger grants that will be by invitation only, and $125,000 is on offer to those applicants over a 3-year period to support longer-term partnerships and engagement projects with longer-term outcomes. That will be, as I said, by invitation only from Regional Arts Australia. Regional Arts Australia will be both administering and inviting applicants and applications. How that actually will roll out is yet to come. So just stay tuned for more information about that. And the final thing is that as an applicant, you can apply in this round for one relief grant, one recovery grant, and you can be an applicant for the renewal grant as well in this financial year. So that gives you an opportunity for a number of different things within that funding round. It's an exciting and interesting grant round, and something that I think will have great benefit to our communities and our artists. We've just recently been administering the regional round of Sustaining Creative Workers initiative for the state government, and the response to that was extraordinary. We've never experienced so many inquiries and applications to that particular fund, and over $775,000 was distributed through that fund to regional artists and communities over that 3-month period. It was an enormous time. So this grant round is the follow-up to that, and we're starting to see great interest and response to this round as well. I'm really happy now to take your questions and to talk to you about your specific needs and ideas. So do now. I'll turn it over to you, and we can have a bit of a chat now.
Thanks so much for that, Malcolm. That was great. So just to clarify, the applications close for the relief on the 30th of September, and for the recovery recovery is 1st of November. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the relief grants are open now and will be open until the 30th of September. So you can put in an application at any time between now and then, and the assessment of those grants will happen on a rolling basis. So, you know, you can put it in now, you could put it in 2 or 3 weeks' time, but any time between now and 30th of September. The recovery grant will only have one closing date, and that's the 1st of November at 11:59 p.m. So that's when you'll need to get your application in, and all of those applications will be assessed by a panel of assessors from regional Victoria in one lot, and there will be, you know, the successful grant recipients will be announced as one job lot, I suppose, if you like.
Sure. And how long can applicants expect to wait once putting an application in?
For the relief grant, you will find out within 15 working days of submission whether you've been successful. So that's a really quick turnover. For recovery grants, you'll submit on the 1st of November, and you'll find out just before Christmas whether you've been successful, and then you start your project sometime after the 1st of January 2021.
Great. Okay. We will put a link in the comments here to the relevant web page as well, so people have quick access to it. But there is a question from Chelsea here. How do you get invited? Is there an expression of interest opportunity, or do we need to wait and see?
Yeah, you'll need to wait and see. At the moment, there are no more. There's no more information than it will be an expression of interest, and you will be invited to apply. But how that works, we don't know yet. So just wait and see on that one. Sure.
Okay. Great. And it's. If people do have other questions, is there somewhere they can go to have those answered?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, as I said earlier, there are 4 regional staff members located throughout Victoria who are here to answer your calls and help you through the process. So we act as a kind of coach on this, and it's not just about you looking at the guidelines and then putting in an application and that's it. We can offer advice and support over the phone, and we also offer support in reading your funding applications and giving you feedback before you submit, because, you know, we're here to build the capacity of our regional arts and community groups. So that is something that is very particular to Regional Arts Victoria, and something that doesn't happen with the other funding organisations. But we do offer that service of looking at your funding application and giving you feedback before you submit. Now, in the Bendigo region, you can speak to either myself or Lorraine Little, who is based up in Swan Hill, and her email address is llittle, all one word, so LLITTLE @rav.net.au, and she'll be happy to help you out. If you're in other areas of Central Victoria, you can speak to me and send me an email on at msanders@rav.net.au. And then we have somebody down in Port Fairy who covers along the coast, and somebody in Gippsland as well. So if there are any Gippsland people, Tim Dakin is the person to speak to. And if you're down on the coast, Joe Grant will be happy to chat about your application.
Great. And we might put those email addresses just in the comments here so that people have access to them if they didn't get to scribble them down. Now,
yeah, sure. And the other funding, David, that we do have at the moment, which doesn't really apply to this area, but I think it's interesting to know what else is on offer too, creative recovery grants that the state government have asked us to administer, particularly for our bushfire affected communities. Mm-hmm. So we have some workers now who are working in the creative recovery sphere to work with those communities to distribute grants directly to those people who have been affected by the bushfires earlier this year, to undertake creative projects that will assist in recovery and rebuilding. So what we found after the Black Saturday fires, 11 years ago, was that the power of art and art making within the context of rebuilding and regrowing and re-establishing your community was a really powerful one, and that has grown and developed over the last 11 years to a really quite extensive creative recovery network around the country. So there's currently money available. So if any of you are in those areas, or you know somebody who is in those areas, do check out the creative recovery funding that is available. $5,000 is available to undertake something in your community.
Yeah, and we'll also have a Creative Victoria representative joining us next week to talk a little bit about the opportunities that are coming through from Creative Victoria as well. A couple of other questions here. Where's that one? I missed one. So for the relief, from Lyndon here, so for the relief grant, do you have to commence your project 30 days from the date of your submission or the date of finding you have been successful?
So it's from the date of submission, Lyndon. So just no earlier than 30 days. You can start at 40 days or 50 days or 60 days. You have to have it finished by June of next year. It's just no earlier than 30 days from the date that you submit the grant. So if you put it in today, on the 16th of July, you probably wouldn't be able to start, or you wouldn't be able to start any earlier than, the 17th of August. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So no earlier than 30 days from the date of submission.
That's right.
Yeah. Amy is asked, I applied for the most recent round and was unsuccessful. Does that mean the money ran out and it would be worth applying for a similar thing again? Or did it mean the panel hated my proposal and I shouldn't go there again?
Amy, it was... there was an extraordinary response. We saw 10 times the number of applications to a funding round that we normally see in this particular round. It was extraordinary, the number of applications that we had. So it doesn't mean that that your proposal was awful at all. But what I suggest you do is let's reconnect and talk about that, and we'll go from there. But you can certainly apply for the relief fund. It's a very similar kind of fund. It's about an impact on you as an artist to recover from this time in the same way that the Sustaining Creative Workers Fund was. So we can look at how you might adapt that application and what you need to do there. So just give me a call on that one.
That's great. Thank you, Malcolm. A couple of other questions coming. So Joe's asked a really pertinent and relevant one. It's really challenging doing creative recovery in the middle of a pandemic. I hear you, Joe. What happens if there are still limitations on gatherings until June next year?
The thing about this funding is that it needs to have a COVID awareness to it. So what are the ways that you can deliver this project in a way that is going to take into account current restrictions, or what future restrictions might be. So it is really tricky, Joe, but these are specifically about either the recovery for you as an artist, or how you as a community might rebuild, or what projects can you do in other ways. There are all sorts of really interesting kinds of projects that we're starting to see roll out from the Sustaining Creative Workers Grant that are taking into account what the current restrictions are. The Village Festival in Castlemaine is doing a work which is going to be like a drive-in cinema, where people come in their cars, tune in their radio to the performance, and the performance will take place on the football oval, with the cars sort of surrounding them. So they've thought about what might be the restrictive practice that they have to do on them making their work into the future. So I agree, it's really tough to be thinking around this, but there is a power in art and art making and in what you offer as an artist that is important at the moment, that needs to be heard, that needs to be, there needs to be those opportunities to create. It's just finding that right format for you in the creation and in the rolling out of that project in your community.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Malcolm. It is, and thank you, Joe, for your question. It certainly is a challenging time for everybody at the moment, and of course, especially trying to come up with ideas that or projects that can be carried out when you don't know what the future looks like. So
yeah, it's really tough. And we're watching this as this we saw this with the Sustaining Creative Workers Grant as well. We started at a period of complete lockdown, and by the time we got to the end of the funding period, restrictions were starting to ease. At that point, we were starting to see a different kind of world emerge. Now we've started from that point of freedom, and we're starting to sort of now move into a more restricted and more contained limitation again on what we're going to be able to do. So that will ultimately change our thinking around this. I suppose the only thing that we can do is just try and think adaptively about the various ways we can do this safely to ourselves, to our participants, and to our broader community in a way that's going to be effective, but also, responsible.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Malcolm, for giving me time to talk us through that. We have put contact details for yourself and Lorraine, and for Joe.
For Joe Grant and Tim Dakin.
Tim Dakin there in the comments. So if people do have any other questions, the contact details are there. And thank you to everyone who has joined us today, and especially those who've asked questions. And if you do put an application in, good luck with it. We'd love to hear about what is planned and the successful ones that come through. Malcolm, thank you again, and we look forward to chatting again.
Pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.
Me too. Thanks very much, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.